Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Do this thing a few times a week. Break the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all the things. I wanted to touch on something today. It's Friday, and we're into January heavy now. So we'll be coming up on the last National Signing Day. And I thought it was very important to number one, to dispel some myths, and number two, to try and help put people up on game. Number one, a lot of people have talked about how the transfer portal has changed things. And I agree. There are changes that have come because the transfer portal exists in the way that it exists now. But transfers into a program they're not something new, right? We didn't just all of a sudden start getting transfers into programs. As a player, I not only experienced transfers coming into a school, but I also transferred to a school. And you know, full disclosure, I didn't have to sit out. Now, I wasn't at the FBS level at the time, so that didn't come into play for me. But it's always happened, right? And somehow through that, high school recruiting has still been important. Here's the other thing. The transfer portal is full of people who are in the transfer portal for selfish reasons. Now, I'm not saying that being selfish in this process is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you're in the portal, you're in the portal for a selfish reason. Watch. Either you were not getting enough playing time, and so you decided to transfer, or you were a starter and a baller, and now you feel like you need to be at a better program to better shine your star. Both of those are selfish, right? Okay, follow me. You want to be closer to home because you want like a home field, you want family, you want all that stuff. That's selfish, right? You want to go somewhere that has a better fit for a major that you're in or that you want to be in. That's selfish, right? Every single reason that you transfer, that you go into the transfer portal, is for a selfish reason. Again, it doesn't mean that that's bad, but let's call a spade a spade. You're going into the transfer portal for a selfish reason. Everything that you do as a coach when you're pulling a player out of the transfer portal is for selfish reasons. You as a coach need to win. So you don't have time to develop a high school player. You need a plug and play person. So you go into the transfer portal to help you. Yes, it helps the team, but ultimately it helps you. Because what would really help the team, and not only in the short term, but in the long term, would be to have a player that is on your program for 4 to 5 years. Not a player that's in your program for 1 year, 2 years. There are some players in college football who are on their 4th, maybe even 5th team. You don't think that any of that is selfish? All of that is just out of necessity? You want better NIL deals, so you transfer. It's all selfish. So once we establish that everything that goes along with recruiting and transferring and pulling transfers is selfish, then we can talk from a position of honesty. High school players, Let's be honest. What do you bring to the table that is better than what a 20 to 21-year-old who's been in college will bring to the table? I could argue, right? I could argue that a Division I team looking to build quickly would actually be better served to go and get 20 to 21-year-old D2 and NAIA stars, guys who have balled out at that level, to populate their team than it would be for them to go and get a bunch of 18-year-old freshmen. I could argue that. Because in the short term, these grown men are going to be able to step in and be factors immediately, as opposed to these kids, these 18-year-old kids who, outside of a few, come from programs that have not figured out the grown man game yet. Not because they don't want to, but because they just don't have the facilities or the resources to. So a high school player has to ask themselves, do I bring something to the table that is better than a 20 to 21-year-old who has been in the college game for 2, maybe 3, 4 years? The answer is most likely going to be no for the largest majority of high school seniors who are looking to go on and play ball in college. That is across the board, right? Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, track and field. The 18-year-old's body is just not as developed as the 20, 21-year-old's body is. So you have to be honest with yourself, right? Have you identified the colleges that are out here looking to recruit high schoolers versus looking to pull in transfers? Have you identified those schools? Most schools will be honest with you. How about you ask the questions? Hey, just interesting, coach. What's your freshman to transfer ratio on your scholarshiping? If the coach isn't willing to be honest with you, that means that they're playing the game, right? But there are coaches that should be honest with you. Hey, listen, we're looking to bring in 12 freshmen a year, 12 transfers. We're looking to bring in 18 freshmen a year, 6 transfers. Hey, we normally want to bring in somewhere between 6 and 8 transfers, but this year we have a few places that we really need to shore up, so we're going to bring in 12. They should be honest with you. What's in it? What do they have to lose by being honest with you? You? They don't have you to lose, right? Because there's a bunch of you. They know it. You should know it. You are not a one of one when it comes to your abilities on the football field. There is the rare student athlete that is the one of one. There's the rare student athlete that you go, we're never going to see that one again. Or there's a good chance we never see anything like him again. Adrian Peterson, coming out of high school, was a one of one. The dude looked like a grown man. He ran like a grown man. He had injuries that he bounced back from. And then when he went to the league, he lasted for a very long time because he's a one of one. There's never going to be anything like him again. There have been certain things that have been flash in the pan. They have the same athleticism, same size, but they don't have the same durability. It's a one of one, right? There's a good chance we may never see another Lamar Jackson, right? We've seen facsimiles. We see guys who can run, guys who can pass, but have we seen guys who could be one of the top passers in college while simultaneously being one of the top rushers. Then turn around and transition that to the NFL and be one of the top quarterbacks and one of the leading rushers in the league. Never forget, Lamar Jackson normally finishes somewhere near the top 10, 15 in rushing every year. That is crazy. Especially when you consider that he's being asked to pass the ball and being held to the same standards as a passer as the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. That's a one of one. Most likely you're not that. So what do you bring to the table? That's why it's harder for you guys out here now, because you're not bringing things to the table that are inherently easy for you to bring to the table, like good grades. You guys are still out here in this world thinking that it's okay to have 2.3s and 2.5s and 2.7s. You're thinking that that's okay. And no offense, but to the people who've come around during COVID, like, school has been extremely easy for you guys. You've been given concessions that students have never been given before. You have opportunities that students have never had before, and you're not even taking advantage of it. If you are a high school senior that wants to play college ball in whichever sport, it does not matter, and you are rolling around here with under a 3.0, then you don't really want to play college ball. Not really. And before anybody jumps in the comments and says, well, some guys just don't have that ability, that blah, 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 miss me with that. I'm on the ground. I've got boots on the soil. Don't hit me with well, some people just aren't capable of. The same skills that it takes for you to know every TK song that comes out, the same skills that it takes for you to know all of the lyrics to this song, all of the lyrics to that song. Those are the exact same skills that you use to succeed in your English class. Because all it is repetition. The exact same skills that make you a great football player, besides your athleticism, is the stuff that's going to make you good in class. So if you are a phenomenal student of the game, you should be a phenomenal student in the classroom. You want to change the narrative, you want to flip the rhythm, you want to do something, you want to bring something to the table, bring a 3.5 to the table. Bring a 3.8 to the table. You'll be amazed at the opportunities that open up for you when you all of a sudden have a GPA that makes you recruitable by everybody. Not just by a couple people, but by everybody. If you have the level of grades that makes you an attractive student, then you're going to have the level of grades that make you an attractive student athlete. That's how that works. That's how it works. But here's good news, high school people. They've been lying to you. They've been trying to make you afraid. They've been trying to use fear, right? They've been trying to use fear on you. They've been saying things like, there's 2,000 players in the transfer portal. So high school guys, there's not going to be any scholarships for you, right? So let me ask you a question. We'll do the math together, and you can tell me what I'm missing. If there are 2,000 scholarship athletes in the transfer portal, doesn't that mean that the schools now have 2,000 scholarships to give? Let me say that again for the people in the back that ain't listening, or people who might be driving in the car, people who may be. If there are 2,000 scholarship athletes that have gone into the transfer portal. Doesn't that mean that there are 2,000 open scholarships at these schools? If nobody transferred, right? If nobody transferred, then all of those scholarships that would normally be given to high school recruits and to junior college recruits, they would still be there. So the same allotment of scholarships that they have every year is still there, plus the scholarships that they gain because somebody's in the transfer portal. Ta-da! Right? Nothing's changed. It's still recruiting. The difference is that the school that might have gone for you as we're going to take a chance on this kid and develop him, that school is now saying, oh no, we'll take this other guy who just transferred. But the trickle down happens, right? Eventually, those scholarships are there somewhere at some place. It's your job to find that place. That means you have to open up your palette. You have to expand your searches. If you're in the state of Florida, you know what it is, right? Florida, Florida State, Miami, FIU, FAU, right? Stetson, Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman. Then you got your West Florida as your lone D2. You've got numerous amounts of NAIA schools. So you know what it is. You know what you're getting into. You know the environment you're in. If you only want to be in Florida, that's what you got. Don't be mad if you don't get a scholarship, because there are 150 plus FBS schools that play football. There are 100 plus FCS schools that play football. There are 100 plus D2 schools that play football. There are 100 plus NAIA schools that play football. So let's just say altogether that's 500 schools that give scholarships, not including junior colleges, that give scholarships. 500 plus. And each one of them give in excess of 15 to 20 scholarships a year. That's a lot of scholarships. It's a lot of scholarships. But there are a lot of players, right? There's a lot of scholarships, but there are a lot of players. So we have to understand what we're doing. And if you don't, you're going to get left at the altar. Sometimes you got to know, okay, I just need to get in where I fit in, ball out, and maybe I need to go into the transfer portal. Sometimes that's the way. Or sometimes you go, you know what? I'm going to go to this school because I really want to go to this school. I'm going to ball out for this school, and I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. Because loyalty is still rewarded. Loyalty is still rewarded. It's rewarded at the high school level for all of you kids that like to jump from school to school to school, and all you janky ass adults that are okay with it. Well, I understand it. Yeah, I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at a kid transferring schools to better his situation, to better her situation. How are they bettering their situation? Name me the kid who was a monster at a school that wasn't good, that did not get a scholarship. And if you name me a kid, I'm going to research him and find out, oh, that kid really wasn't a dog like that. Or, oh, that kid didn't want to go somewhere. I know a young man who had Division I offers, Division II offers. He thumbed his nose at those offers. He thumbed his nose at those offers because he thought he was better. He kept looking, kept searching, kept looking, kept searching. They took the offers away. They were calling him, checking in with him. He wasn't even answering or returning phone calls, not returning text messages. What did you think? They were just going to sit there and hold that offer? Well, maybe if at the end they're not desperate. There's more than one of you. He sat there and ended up not getting anything. Went to a prep school, did nothing. Went on to college, went on and tried to walk on at a college, didn't make it. Don't know what he's doing now. Don't particularly care. Wasn't a good kid. Wasn't a hard worker. Was selfish. Was a great football player, but he was selfish. And he was selfish when you don't need to be selfish. He was a kid who had already transferred from one school to another. He was a kid that was already getting coddled and allowed to miss stuff. He didn't have to be that way. He was already the talent. He already had offers. Wasn't good enough for him. He transferred. What did it do for him? I know a ton of people, more than I can count, of teams that I've coached or I've seen who were bad. The teams were not good, but they were good. Guess what they did? They went to college. They went to college for free or for a drastically reduced rate. It happens all the time. What do you think happens when you go to a school with a bunch of talent and you're a talent? You become one of many. It's hilarious, right? I saw a post. I think it was a Big County Preps post. Shout out to Big County Preps. They do great things in the Tampa area, Tampa Bay. They've expanded their reach so far in Florida now, and shout out to them. But one of the posts they talked about was I think it was a receiver that's transferring to Gaither. Gaither that already has two really good receivers and a quarterback, and they're now like, oh, it's going to be even better. And it's like, my question, which never got answered, and I don't blame them because nobody likes to actually, engage in legitimate debate, legitimate discourse. I said, are the wide receivers statistics going to get better with the addition of another receiver? Or is it going to be the same stats for the quarterback, but less for the receivers, right? Because if a quarterback threw for 3,500, 4,000 yards in a season, how many more yards do you think he's going to throw for? Right? So if you give him another weapon, that's just going to separate that 4,000 yards 3 ways rather than 2 ways. So I would predict that those 2 receivers that were already with him, their statistics are going to drop. I could even argue with you and say, how is it going to make them more dynamic? How many legitimate dynamic receivers do you need on the field? I could argue, if I have 2 legitimate dynamic receivers, my 3rd and 4th receiver don't matter. They're going to eat regardless, because somebody has to eat, right? If you try to take those other 2 away, so is it really good for everybody involved in that program to have now 3 elite level dudes? I don't know. But that's a great conversation to have, because I'm pretty sure if that guy was eating at his previous school, he was still going to eat and still get whatever was coming to him. You want to know one of the worst things I see is when I see the kids who already have every offer in the world now go to IMG. They go to IMG. IMG, yeah, they have the facilities. They give you the opportunity to attack this thing at the same way that a collegiate does. But you're a high school student, right? You're a high school student. And if you have every scholarship offer in the world already at the high school that you were at, why not stay there and allow others to get notice off of your shine? If you've got every college coming in the door to see you, guess who else they're going to see? Everybody else that's behind you. And we just don't see enough of that. Not out of our young guys. Not out of our parents of the young guys. Because these young men aren't just making these decisions. These high school kids aren't just transferring on their own. The parents are complicit in it. And then they get to college and they don't have immediate success, and now they're in the portal. And they get to the next school and they don't have immediate success, so they're back in the portal again. They don't have the success to the level that they want to have it, so they're back in the portal again. They made a bad decision coming out of high school. They went to Florida State when they should have went to Toledo. Oh, well, that Florida State offers a better offer. Why is it a better offer? Because it's a more well-known school. Would you rather go to Florida State and never play, or go to Toledo and start for 4 years? That's what you got to ask yourself. Would you rather go to Alabama and never see the field, or would you rather go to Alabama, Birmingham, and start for 4 years? I know my answer, but here's what people will say. Here's the rhetoric that they'll use. Well, you got to bet on yourself. Yeah, well, you gotta go where the competition is. Well, yeah, of course, but there's also certain things that's called know thyself. If I know that I'm not legitimately the caliber of Alabama, but I want to get that love for going to Alabama, and I go there, and now everybody's better than me, so the recruits that come in after me are just taking my spots, and I can't beat out anybody that's there. What was the use? But I went to Alabama. You know how many guys that I know that went to Division I schools that I would have absolutely smoked in high school? Coming out of high school, there were some guys who went to Division I programs that I'm like, yo, I'm not just better than them, I'm way better than them. And it's not hate, they deserved it. They were able to do whatever they had to do, whatever got them on the radar to be able to go. I'm congratulating them. But that doesn't mean I think that they're good. University of Georgia has an issue right now. They have a bunch of 5-star guys on their roster at quarterback that could not beat out a 5'11" walk-on. I want y'all to let that set in. A 5'11" walk-on without plus anything that is physical. Not a plus arm. He doesn't have plus legs. He doesn't have plus body. He makes some bonehead decisions sometimes. And yet, there are 5-star guys that couldn't beat that guy out. You know why? Because that guy was a dog. And you can say whatever you want about Stetson Bennett, but Stetson Bennett was a pit bull puppy. And the chain around his neck was so big, that he had no other choice but to get strong. Because he had to lug that cinder block. He had to lug it. It wasn't no situation where he got to sit in the house. He was in the backyard. He was grinding. He was working. They told him he wasn't good enough, so he left. Balled out, came back. They still told him he wasn't good enough. He said, watch. And he got his opportunity, held on to that thing like a vice grip. And every fan in the world kept trying to pull it away from him. You Georgia fans, y'all think y'all slick. Y'all weren't always on the Stetson Bennett train. You guys weren't always 10 toes down with Stetson Bennett. Even after the first national championship, there were people who thought that they should have got him out of there. During the first championship run, there were people who said, we got to get JT Daniels back in it. If Stetson Bennett is a guy who can hold off 5-star recruits, then why am I here believing that everybody that gets an offer from Georgia is good? Not everybody. Now, they all might be good, but they might not be Georgia good. And so some of those quarterbacks would have probably been better served going to other places. But now that they're there, let's see how many of them are willing to fight like Stetson Bennett fought. Because in the end, that's going to be telling. You guys out there got to make better decisions in recruiting because it's going to have long-lasting ramifications. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.